Welcome to Surrender School.
At Surrender School, we recover. Our mission is to share 12-step and other supportive recovery solutions with those who want a healthy relationship with food. And of course, we have other people with other addictions that come, and people that are just seeking recovery come to Surrender School, and we're very happy about that. We are not an official 12-step meeting, but we do adhere to the spirit of the traditions because all of us have a 12-step background, and we believe in the traditions. All right, everything that we offer is on the website, and the website is surrenderschool.org, all one word, surrenderschool.org. And everything that we've done for the last 3 years is out there for you to check out. Watch the chat today because you will get details on some of the things that are out there, some of the things that are coming up, some of the things that are new. There's quite a bit of information that's out there. All right, we now have a second Zoom room. That only matters because you have to be sure to go to the correct Zoom room. So if you go to the website before you go to a meeting and click on, it says something like, click here to go to get the Zoom instructions. Click on that, and then the very next click will take you right into the correct room. Starting mid-November, everything will be in Zoom Room 2, but for right now, there is a 1 and 2, and so you want to be sure you go to the right one. You'll notice at the bottom there is a donate button on our homepage. If Surrender School has helped you with your recovery, be sure to donate. I know the nice part is so many of the people that are here are 12-steppers, and 12-steppers always pay their own way. So, but please do donate if Surrender School has helped your recovery. All right, the B here is because in front of your name will be a B if you are a breakout leader. So if you notice that there's a B in front of your name, it means that we're asking you today to be a breakout leader. If you cannot be, let Lori know that today's not a good day for you to be a breakout leader. And that way we know who is willing to and who is not willing to be breakout room leaders. All right, so real quick, want to cover some of the things that we have out there. There is something called Abstinence in Recovery. It's Mondays from 5:30 to 6:30 Pacific time. And what that is are the May talks that Linda Turley did, that Linda T did back in May basically about abstinence in recovery, and what Scarlett H hosts it or leads it. And it basically watches the video, and then there's a little bit of writing, and then there's some sharing. So that intensive thing that Linda did is now broken into weeks over the next 31 weeks. All right, Emotional Sobriety Reading Room. We're reading the Alan Berger's Emotional Sobriety again, the 12 Insights of Emotional Sobriety. Dave and Kim lead it. That's Friday mornings at 8 a.m. In addition to that, there is the intuitive eating workshops that's presented by Samantha Conboy. This is what she does for a living, so it's really kind of her to do this for Surrender School. It's amazing that she's doing this. So she has several weeks left. She started this August 2nd and just has been going through pretty much what we asked for. So it's not in sequence of the workbook, but it does go along with the workbook, and it's just awesome. So all of it's recorded. Anything that's done so far has been recorded, so you could catch up if you want to and start coming to it, and it's an amazing course. And then also there is starting actually this Sunday, a week from today at 9 o'clock. It's an hour and a half before this one. Amber is leading something called Build Yourself Up Without Limits. So I don't know exactly what that's about, although other people do. So you might want to chat about that if you're curious about that. It's Build Yourself Up Without Limits. And she starts that a week from today at 9 a.m. Pacific time, whereas this one starts at 10:30. And then, of course, there's this course, which is called Supercharge Your Recovery, Working the Steps by Type. We have office hours on Monday and Thursday that basically people come and discuss their type and ask questions about that and that kind of stuff. So that works out well. And then on Tuesday and Wednesday, we're reading The Wisdom of the Enneagram by Riso and Hudson. And when someone besides me leads it, we make about a page and a half. When I lead it, we make about a paragraph. So that book's 365 pages or something like that. So it'll be a decade before we're finished, probably. Real quick, want to say we've changed the schedule of this because 10, 11, and 12, we worked 4 through 9. We kind of get all of that. So 10, 11, and 12 is relatively easy because that's where we live. Once you've been through the steps, and if your life is blessed, at least the way my life is blessed, I live in 10, 11, and 12. So we're bringing some Enneagram stuff back into it again. Today, as a matter of fact, Richard is going to be covering the harmonic groups. And then in a few weeks, we're going to cover the Hornevian groups and the Enneagram levels, some meditation methods. We're going to introduce some service information. Anyway, there's like specific topics, each of these that is slightly different than what we've done in the past weeks because the work is less because we live in it. Okay, so anyway, this is what it looks like. And 1116 is the last session of the Supercharger Recovery. So we're wrapping it up before Thanksgiving so that you have kind of freedom. Not that this isn't free, but you have freedom during the holidays because it's really hard during the holidays to stay in that. We will do something on this time slot throughout the holidays. I'm just not sure what yet. We're still figuring that out. All right, let's take a moment to feel your breath going in and out and feel your feet on the floor. Be as present as you can be. And now together, let's do the Surrender School set-aside prayer. God, help me to set aside everything I think I know to leave space for what I have yet to learn. A little bit about this course. This is a personal journey, and I think most of you realize that. Our focus is to help you understand the relationship between your false self or that ego self and your true self, and to treat yourself with unrelenting compassion because you're human, and most of us don't live in our true self as much as we would like to. That is the fact of life. All right, some things to keep in mind. The first is I'm not an expert. I'm just another bozo on the bus. We work the steps by type. And if you are new, which I don't think anyone that's here now is new, but if you were, make sure you take the test because it guides you into which type you're working the steps on. We believe that self-contempt stops spiritual growth. It's one of the reasons that we so firmly believe that you need to be compassionate with yourself. And that's something you have to work at. Maybe other people don't have to. I have to work very hard at it to be compassionate with myself. And what happens is then that allows me to be compassionate with other people too. And so one reminder is of all the things you can be in the world, we ask that you be kind to yourself as well as to other people. We do believe that if you do the work, your recovery will be supercharged. That's the reason we called it Supercharged. And it's actually amazing, even us. Those of us that put it together, we're amazed at the growth that's happening. So it's very cool. All right. I always put this up because I think it's so important. Inquiry just means questioning. We answer questions, right? And the reason that we do that is because when we do that, our patterns we see that our patterns are patterns. We see them. We see that our projections, those stories we tell ourselves, we see that those are stories I'm telling myself. And when that happens, at the bottom, it says, the more you see them as they truly are, which is projections as projections and so forth, the less you believe in them and the more they start to break up and dissolve, which is what we believe is what happens in steps 6 and 7, right? Those things, the reason our greater power can help us with that, because now I see that that is a pattern. That's a pattern that I didn't even know was a pattern. It was just the way I lived. Or that's a story I'm telling myself and I just thought it was the truth, right? So this is the reason, and I probably will always have this slide because it's just so compelling. And it's a quote by A.H. Almaas, who's one of the Enneagram gurus who's around. I love this quote. I don't want to adult anymore. I don't even want a human. I want a goat. Jump around randomly, eat what I want, and headbutt anyone who annoys me. That's who I want to be. When I was when I was younger, I can remember I went through a stage where I headbutted people. I mean, jokingly, like in the shoulder or whatever, I'd headbutt them. I was like in my 30s. So a bunch of us went to a petting zoo or something. And after that, I'm like, that's kind of cool. And I would headbutt people. Let me talk to you why I have this little goat here. So Richard, thank you for putting together videos for me. I said, oh, fainting goats are so funny. I want to use them because that's a great signal, right? They faint. Well, then I did some research because I wanted to talk a little bit more about them. And I found out that that was a neurological disorder. And I'm like, oh, I don't laugh at your neurological disorder. So I can't use the fainting goats anymore. So, but the reason I was going to use the fainting goats is because that is such a signal when they are stressed in any way, they just freeze up and keel over, right? And so it's such an obvious signal. And we want to talk about, that's the whole thing that we're talking about here, is what is the signal that your body is giving you before you go into whatever that gives you. So, and once again, this whole section is called signal, stop, and swap. Okay, so, and the idea of signal, stop, and swap is I have something that happens in my body. For me, I talked about this last week, my chest goes out, my chin goes up, this eyebrow goes up, right? And if I were an animal, it would be hackles. That's what happens to me. And so, and I know that happens before I say anything. It's like and it used to be there was no between the stimulus, whatever happened, and my response, it was automatic, and I had no control whatsoever over it. I would get in someone's face. And now what happens is I see the signal. Oh, I'm seeing what's happening. That my chest is going up, my chin is going up, my eyebrows going up. I can feel all these things happening. And I have the opportunity, because of the pause Bill W talks about, I have the opportunity to stop, and then I can swap it for a behavior that I don't owe an amends for later. That's really what this is about, right? I mean, it's because first of all, you'll get along well better with other people, but you can watch yourself behave better. And then later you can sit down and say, okay, what was it about that made all those my hackles rise? What was that had that happen? Now we're going to share on this in a breakout room, but the idea here is what you're going to share in the breakout rooms is what is your signal? When have you or can you successfully stop and swap? And then when does it basically take over? It's really rare for me not to have the pause and for me not to make the right decision. That's rare for me. It used to not be rare for me. What was rare is for me to interrupt that in any way. And my life was worse, was way worse. It was tough to keep friends. And so I'm happy that I'm that. The reason we're not doing a separate section here is when we come back from break, or from the breakout rooms, Richard is going to cover the harmonic group. So we know then that's, I don't know, some time, takes some time. So Carmen, you're saving me. Thank you, Carmen. Go ahead.
I'll fill your 5 minutes.
There you go. Thank you.
You suggested 3 things that we are going to talk about in the break room, though. What is your signal? And 2 and 3. Could you repeat those, please?
Yeah. So the second one is, can you give an example of when you either did or didn't? It's whatever makes sense. Do the stop, use the pause, because we're really talking, having the signal is great, but it's only really great if you can use the pause. If the pause is there, that basically, the old thing that says, in the case of an 8, basically put your hand, God, please put your hand over my mouth. So it keeps me from saying something that I wish I hadn't said. Now I know you're a 9, so yours might be, you just back away, you go and watch a movie, or you know what I mean? Yours might be not acting when you should act, right? Mine would be acting when I shouldn't act, right? So,
Gotcha.
And all the different types have different responses that you have, that you hit the stimulus and you have your type response. So the second one is a time when you didn't or wish you had used the pause, or when you did, you successfully used the pause and then took the next right action, which is what we asked for in the pause, right? Because the pause isn't just stopping, even though we call it stopping. The pause is actually the stop and swap, because it says, and I ask for the next right thought or action. So and then I take the next right thought or action, right? So, and then the third one is basically whatever is the opposite, right? So if you lead with, this is where I wish I'd have done this and hadn't, and then what could I do in the future? How would that be different?
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Yeah. So really what we're doing is just basically making this more concrete, because it's in our own lives, instead of just kind of out here as a concept. How is that impacting me in my life? And here is the spoiler alert, is as we have worked our program, we are able to see the signal, even though we've never talked about the signal before in any of the steps. Because of the work that we've done, we can see the signal. I don't know that the signal is as obvious for other types as it is for the 8, although I'm sure for the 6s, it's relatively obvious. Maybe for the reactive types, it's relatively up. For the 4s, I think it's obvious. So maybe that is. So we're going to tie it to the harmonic group later. Okay. Thank you, Carmen.
Well, and there's a wonderful description of it on the material that you posted on the website.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's much more specific than what I said. Thank you. Ty, to you.
Hello. Yeah, I actually just used this real time last night. I didn't read it. I mean, I breezed through it last week. Sometimes I try to read the previous week before. Because I had a feeling that I probably wasn't gonna get to do the homework. So I didn't get to it. But I go to step 10 and I was like, oh, I did it. But
Good.
last night, even with the tight ones, I was sitting here rolling as I was reading this stuff, because I got on like an hour before just to read it, and I was just like, this is so funny. So the signals for me, the harsh tone, yep. Tightening the body, yep.
Yeah.
Resentment building up, yep. I withdrew a little bit, yes, I did. But I withdrew to pray because I was like, help me be the best person I can be. I was doing my step 7. I was just like, okay. So I just had to walk around the house or whatever because my partner's friends were over here last night. And so I gotta say, this is where it's at, man. Surrender School, like y'all have like
Good.
this is where it's at. Cause for me tonight, I mean, a lot of these past 7, and I'm not like tooting my horn or nothing, but past 7, it's been like because I was so able to unlock in 4 different aspects from the specter that you gave us, and I was able to target things more faster. Like it was like everything else just. And last night, I breathed through it out, and I came back and was like, you know what? I apologize for that. I was you're right. Continue exactly what you were saying. I won't say anything else.
And this is especially, I know that you're under stress right now, and please give Athena my love and
I will. I
my
will.
for the loss of Ellen. Yeah. But I think and that when you're under stress, it's even harder, right?
Yeah.
Because these patterns will just take over. So that's wonderful that you shared that because I know it's so difficult
Oh yeah.
when
My
under
jaw,
stress.
a particular
Yeah.
part of tightening of my body was the jaw. I was
Yeah,
sitting there like,
exactly. See, that's the signal. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Ty. All right, Lori, to you, and then Melissa.
Well, I'm just telling you I'm ready for
You're
breakup.
ready. Okay, we'll let Melissa share, and then we'll go to the breakout.
Thanks, Cher. I just wanted to say attending Surrender School Supercharge is a lot like attending a very big, beautiful lecture in a lecture hall where you're learning principles. Then life during the week gives you the lab. And I just had the lab 10 minutes ago for step 10. I literally walked away from a conversation at breakfast with my dad and husband, the 2 men in my life, where I was feeling my perception, I was feeling misunderstood and criticized for every little thing. Whew, that sounds like a 4. That sounds like a 4. And so I just went, breathe, pause, look for the whale. Where's the whale? Ooh, the way I just said that might need a reframe so that it stays calm and dignified like the woman I want to be. And I did. And I didn't really have to apologize because the way I conducted myself during a very testy situation out there at the breakfast table was like, I'm still really excited about how I showed up. I am different. And these guys may never even say it out loud. I know I'm different.
Mhm.
So the struggle of you guys don't witness that I'm growing was a used to be struggle. Now I witness that I'm growing. Thank you, higher power, for giving me calmness in a testy moment where I feel misunderstood. Thank you, higher power, for giving me a new way to talk right now and for not absorbing like a sponge everybody's projections. So that's growth.
Yes, and I want to say, and then you get to come here and celebrate the growth. Or if it didn't go well, you get to come here and say, I saw the signal. I didn't pause. I
And
just
you know
went
what?
with it, right?
We
And we
we
all love
said
you
all of
regardless.
that is compost. Anything that didn't go well is for my garden to grow better. It's
That's right.
compost. Some people just deal with the stink, but the compost eventually goes down into the soil and makes the flowers.
Yes,
So
it
hopefully
does.
we're not stinking up everywhere. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that metaphor. I'm kidding. All right. So everybody ready to go into breakout rooms? All right, you're going to share on the signal, stop, and swap. Okay, bye everybody. See you in 20 minutes. Was everybody able to do the signal, stop, and swap? How'd that go? Good? Cool stuff?
All right, so we're talking about harmonic groups, and I want to start with this concept of harmonic. And you probably know that it has to do with music. And this is really interesting. It talks about this relationship of sounds, and that turns out to be a really important thing as we go along. And I love the fact that the word concordant, which is in the definition, is that means together heart. I just love that. So for me, the whole thing about harmonics really has to do with how we communicate with each other. And there's an example of it where all of these waves are in harmony with each other. So another way to look at it is about harmony. You know, it's when you're connecting with someone and they feel as you feel as though they're getting you and they feel as though you're getting them. It's a really great deal. So I want to play you.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Now, I don't know about you, and I'm going to play you another one from the same group, Pentatonics. I don't know about you, but there is something about harmony that just feels so good. So let's watch another one. So what happens to me when I hear really good harmony like that, it fills me. It just makes me feel peaceful, and I'm hoping the same thing happens with you. We have to move on to the more intellectual aspect of it. Don Risso and Russ Hudson, who wrote the book that we're following in the reading room about the Enneagram, they came up with this theory of what they call the harmonic groups. Unfortunately, Don is no longer with us, but Russ is definitely still very much alive. So let's look at what they suggested with this whole idea of their theory. So it talks about getting what you want, and in particular, as they say, how we cope with the situation when we're not getting what we want. The other thing is disappointment, loss, those kinds of things. What do we do when we start to experience those? So here's
that you can't always get what you want, honey. You can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. But if you try sometime, well, you might just find that you're what you need. Ah, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I could go on and love Mick and all that stuff, but I think you get it, that this really has to do with, I see it about communication a lot, but it really does have to do with, am I getting what I want? So the theory suggests that there are three groups. And if you look at the Enneagram, you know that there are 9 types. And so each group occupies 3 of those 9 types. There's what's called the positive outlook group, and I'll go into a great explanation about each one of those. There's the competency group. And then finally, there's what Hudson and Risso call the reactive group. Now, I can tell you that a lot of people immediately, especially if you happen to be in this group, a lot of people say, hey, wait a minute, I'm not being reactive. So hold on. There's the symbol for that. And here are the numbers. So types 2, 7, and 9 are what they considered the positive outlook group. 1, 3, and 5 for competency, and 4, 6, and 8 for what they call the reactive group. Now, when Becca and I and other members of our family took a very extensive course in Enneagram, we learned it. It was presented to us as the intensity group. And if that helps you, cool. If you're still bugged by that word intensity, consider this. There are alternative names. So being optimistic rather than positive outlook, solution seeking rather than that competency idea, and then emotional authenticity rather than being reactive or too intense. So don't worry so much about the names per se, but try to keep in mind where we're going. So let's start with the positive outlook group. This is 2, 7, and 9. And I think it's important to connect this whole concept of harmonics with what your fears are. So, of course, being unwanted or being unlovable, deprived or trapped or separated, those kinds of things are the fears in the positive outlook group. Let's take a look at the competency group. This is 1, 3, and 5. So, you know, the idea of being bad, being undervalued, being invaded or overwhelmed, those are fears that the competency group has. And those are going to play into how people in each one of these groups tends to communicate or get their needs met. And then finally we have, and I'm going to use the term that Hudson and Risso used. Once again, please remember that you can substitute another word for that, like, you know, like authenticity or intensity, whatever you like. But anyway, with 4, 6, and 8, what we're looking at is being insignificant, not having enough support, or being controlled. Okay, so here we go. This should look familiar to all of you, the Enneagram itself. Now let's break it down. These are the 3 groups. They typically started with positive outlook, so I'll do that so you can see 2, 7, and 9. That's the blue triangle. And then the competency group, 1, 3, and 5, is the green triangle. And once again, reactive, remember, use your own term on that, 4, 6, and 8. Okay, and notice also the symmetry here, how amazing that is. All right, so we'll start with positive outlook. So this is what people in the positive outlook group tend to do. Oh, hey, there's no problem. What are you talking about? Oh, that's not so bad. There's another way of looking at it. Or, you know, look on the right side, that kind of stuff. The idea of, you know, I want to feel good. I want to make sure other people feel good. So there's that positive outlook. And here's a
Always look on the bright side of life. Always look on the light side of life. If life seems jolly rotten, there's something you've forgotten, and that's to laugh and smile and dance and sing. When you're feeling in the dumps, don't be silly chumps. Just purse your lips and whistle, that's the thing.
Okay, so you probably, most of you recognize Monty Python and the Life of Brian. And of course, here they are, they're all getting crucified, and he's singing Look on the Bright Side of Life. So I want to give an example because as you know, or as a lot of you know, Becca's mom died about a little over a week ago. And when we were around her, when she was still conscious at this point, she was home and whatnot. She told this story to one of her kids, one of Becca's brothers, about how much she wanted each one of her children, and she wanted to make sure that they knew that. Now that hit me really hard because that wasn't the case for me. And so I remember pulling her brother aside and saying, you know, it's amazing that you had that happen to you, because what happened to me was very, very different. My mom made it really clear that she really didn't want me. What did my brother-in-law do? He made a joke out of it. He is, in fact, a type 7 positive outlook group. Okay, want to move on to the competency group. Now, what we're talking about here is logic. So, you know, feelings, forget them. And, you know, other people, same thing. Get rid of those feelings. Think things through logically, you know, solve problems that way as well. Competency plays into it. I can tell you I'm a type 1, so I'm in this group. And as we're going to see when we get on to the Hornevian groups in November, that there's also a connection there for type 1. But, you know, objectivity, that kind of thing. Stay away from emotions. And there's the triangle 1, 3, and 5 representing the competency group.
Every problem is absurdly simple when it is explained to you. Pum, 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 pum.
Holmes, why are you so cheerful? You're unemployed, you have no case to solve. Now, normally that produces black moods.
You have not used the logical principles which I constantly expound.
Sherlock Holmes is cheerful, so Sherlock Holmes must have a case.
Pah! See what you can make of that, friend Watson.
Now, I'm going to give you an example of competency group because one of the things that we experienced was Becca and me was and her brothers was watching her mother die, and we had a hospice nurse come in, and I'm convinced that this hospice nurse is type 5, which would of course be part of the competency group. And I remember I had her aside and I was talking about this experience that I had. And how did she respond with the physiological things that happen when someone dies? She did not, in my view, address the experience I was having at all. She simply listed logically all of these things that happen physiologically when somebody dies. It was really fascinating. Okay, now let's move on to the reactive group. And once again, remember whatever term you use for that. Okay. Emotions definitely come in. Remember, this is 4, 6, and 8. So think about that. And here's one of the most important things. If you're in the reactive group, the most likely thing you're going to want is that someone gets how you're feeling and responds to it, responds in a way that you come away with a feeling of, oh, they really get what I'm going through. Not just they get me, but they get what I'm going through. Okay. And part of that is the desire to have someone listen to you, to have someone hear those feelings. And there's the reactive group 4, 6, and 8. And this is from Good Will Hunting.
I know. No, you don't. It's not your fault. I know. It's not your fault. All right? It's not your fault. It's not your fault. Don't fuck with me. It's not your fault. Don't fuck with me, all right? Don't fuck with me, Sean. Not you. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. Oh my God. Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
So notice here how Robin Williams didn't say, oh, calm down or hush or anything like that, or you know, you're being too emotional, it's not your fault, get over it, that kind of thing, or make a joke out of it. That he really responded emotionally, that he hugged Will, that he really got what was going on. And an example for me around Becca's mom's death was that I was talking about how difficult it was for me with somebody, and she just really listened. She said, oh my gosh, this is hard what you're going through. And I really felt heard. Okay, so now we'll look at, because after all, 1, 3, and 5 have differences just as 4, 6, and 8 do, and 2, 7, and 9. So let's look at the harmonic groups in terms of the individual type. So we'll start once again with the positive outlook. This is one thing that we know about type 2 is I'm a loving person. And so there tends to be more focus, as it shows right here, on people's good intentions and moving away from anger and that kind of thing, disappointment. And also, you know, focusing on other people and what their needs are. So, and another thing that we know about type 2s is that they tend to overlook their own needs. Okay, with type 7, the positive outlook comes through by, let's have fun. Let's enjoy things. Let's do stuff. Let's have really great experiences and stay away from pain. Forget that. Also, don't get involved with, I didn't have anything to do with your suffering, that kind of thing. And there tends to be, according to Hudson and Risso, there tends to be an emphasis on what the type 7 needs rather than what others might. Okay, and now we're going to move on to type 9. There tends to be, just make sure that things remain calm. There can often be this idealization, looking at others and the environment, that kind of thing. Staying away from problems, avoiding conflict, especially with loved ones, and not getting deeply involved in things. These all lead to this positive outlook approach in the case of type 9. And definitely, boy, when you get overwhelmed, woohoo, that's not good. So, and that overwhelm goes for whether it's other people's needs or the person who is the type 9, their needs. Okay, the competency group, 1, 3, 5. So we'll start with 1. So, I can speak to this, gotta be right. So, gotta have everything in line and that kind of stuff. The rules are very important. Gotta get her done. That's really essential. And get busy rather than look at feelings. Those are really important. And of course, as you probably know, with type 1 or type 2, I want to be good. I want to be seen as good. Okay. And there's definitely an issue when other people break rules. Don't like that. With type 3, there's more of a focus on efficiency and success and that kind of stuff. And being pragmatic and getting stuff done as well. Once again, we see this activity part is an important function of the competency group. So, and I'm not gonna, if I'm a type 3, I'm not gonna be focusing on my own feelings. I'm gonna be looking and responding to other people's feelings, because I just want, I want to be successful and I want to work within. And if I need to do things a little bit differently to get them done, okay, I'm just going to do that. And then finally, type 5. So expertise is really important with type 5. Facts, those kinds of things, objectivity, the brain, definitely thinking a lot. Type 5s tend to want to be independent and be by themselves. And when it comes to things like rules, boy, that can really be a problem. Okay, so here's the reactive group. Type 4, I want to find somebody who really gets me. That's really important. And I definitely want to feel as though people are listening to me, they're seeing me, that kind of thing. I need support, and I'm looking for someone who can give it to me. And I want to stay engaged with other people. That's really important as well. And boy, I'm gonna, for once I find people who do support me, I'm gonna hang on to them. Okay, for type 6, okay, yeah, it says I want someone to rely on, but, and that's a really important thing, I need to be strong. I can't trust, I can't rely on others for that. I need to fight that from within. And oh my gosh, if people leave me because I'm being this way, that's a real problem. And at the same time, I don't want to have to depend on people too much. And then this idea about being committed and reliable, except I'm trying to be independent at the same time. And then finally, type 8. So being independent, being on my own, and of course, as you know, not letting other people control me is a really important thing. I'm my own boss. There's that control issue. Vulnerability, oh boy, the marshmallow inside of me, I need to protect that. So I'm going to stay hard on the outside. So, you know, you can be around me, but there needs to be a certain amount of distance. And you know, don't get too close. And then, of course, you know, I've got a set of armor, and you need to know that. Okay, so in summary, we've got the positive outlook groups. So a 2 would say, hey, you have the problem. I'm here to help you. The 7 would say, huh? There's no problem. What are you talking about? The 9 would say, I don't think there's a problem. Well, maybe there is, but I don't think so. Okay, with the competency group, type 1, you know, let's figure out a way of solving this. With type 3, got to do it efficiently. Let's roll up our sleeves, make this thing work. And type 5, geez, there's so many ways it could be done. We need to go over all of them. And with the reactive group, this is really bothering me, and I really want you to hear what I have to say. With type 6, it's I just need, you know, I need to blow off some steam. That's all there is to it. Otherwise, I'll be fine. And of course, with type 8, and you can see what I chose. Boy, I am pissed, and you are going to find out about it. Okay, now finally, I want to end this presentation because there's a group that calls themselves the Harmonics, and this is a clip from one of their videos, just for fun.
Baby, don't you go away. I just want you, I just want you, I just want you to give it to me. Give it to me right now. Come on, give it to me. Give it to me right now.
That was
Super.
awesome, Richard. Thank you so much. Okay,
Thank
so Richard, I'm going to have you be the expert here. So if anyone has questions or comments for Richard, please just raise your hand and I'll call in.
There was something that you said that now I can't even find what it said, but it's, you know, she's in the heart triad. And so
Yes.
when it said something about that made me think, well, that doesn't sound like her, that like being in the heart, you know, just feeling things. Was it that she avoids conflict or idealize? No, that's, I'm sorry, that's, but it was something that like didn't seem like it would, like since she's, you know, it just seems like she feels not sure about, it was kind of like a disconnect for where I think she is anyway.
Yeah,
Just,
and
the other threes can talk about that. I don't know.
yeah, and let me tell you, Linda, I also had that same confusion when I saw that that 3, I mean, the 1 and the 5 made sense to me, that they were in the competency group, and what was the 3 doing there was part of it. But another thing about about 3, 6, and 9, the types that are in the middle of each one of their groups. So 8, 9, 1, so it would be 9 for the body or the gut type. And then we have 2, 3, 4, so 3 is in the middle. And then of course we've got 5, 6, 7, so 6 is in the middle of that group. There is this peculiar thing that happens. It's easier for me to give an example of the gut or the anger group. Anger focused outward is 8, and anger focused inward is 1. But then there's this perplexity about anger. Where exactly does it fit? So I think the same thing happens when you're in the center of whatever your group is, that yes, it's a heart group. To me, it made no sense that there was all of this emphasis on success and being recognized and all that stuff. It didn't have the same heartful feeling that certainly 2, which is about love, and 4, which is about feelings and uniqueness, had a connection on. So I'm with you on that. It is a bit of a perplexity. I don't know if I answered your question sufficiently, but and Linda, please, Cher, please chime in.
Yeah, can I add to that? And that is that center one that you're talking about. They are the ones that deny whatever that is. So they resist. So the 9 resists feeling anger. They don't even know they feel anger. The 3 resists having feelings. So the 2 has all these feelings, I'm unworthy and all that. The 4, right, feels like too much. And the 3, basically, it's all about being efficient, being effective. What I think is interesting is the 3 is the only one of all the types that is completely different depending upon the society that they are in. All the other types show up looking about the same in every society, but the 3 doesn't, because the 3 wants to be whatever is acceptable, outstanding in their society is the way they want to be. So, but yeah, that center one in each of those is the one that basically has the hardest part grabbing onto whatever that for that group is, right? So the 9 denies anger, the 3 denies feeling. Doesn't even know that they don't know that they're denying it. They just don't.
I've seen her get angry, so
Did that help, Linda?
yes, and then I'll look back over the presentation, and that'll help.
Okay, and I already put it in the chat, and as I said, when we're done, I'll post it on WhatsApp for those of you who prefer connecting that way.
Okay.
So I
Thank
think,
you,
Melissa, you're next.
I cannot tell you how much I enjoyed that. I cannot even tell you, especially punctuated with the songs. I said it was symbolic and it was also a symbol. It was like, whoa, that really hit it home. Okay, type 4, just a little reactive. The 2 men in my life might be a 3. Father might be a 3. Husband might be a 9. Why do I have even more reaction to them when we're having difficulty? My father's trying to competently teach me how to be an adult. And I'm like, wait a minute. You did not hear what I said. And so we go round and round and round. I do that for myself now because of Enneagram. I'm getting to be able to do that for myself because of Enneagram and my spiritual life. And with my husband, I want the mirrored reaction. I'm mad. I bet you're mad too. And you are not showing up telling me you're mad. So you're being dishonest right now. That also doesn't go well. That does not go well because you know what? He can't even access because it takes him a while to access any feelings. And I love him for that. He is the peacemaker in our relationship. So you've given me a new lens to go out there, a better lens that has no smudges on it, to look at my relationships and how I bring the kerosene to the campfire. I really don't want to. I'm going to bring marshmallows. Okay. Marshmallows. Thank you. I love you guys.
That's great. Thank you, Melissa. Shirley, before I go to you, I just want to emphasize something that Melissa was bringing up, which is this notion of communication. Knowing what someone else's Enneagram type is can be really helpful. So if you're feeling unheard and all the person is doing is doing the positive outlook side of it, then you've got some choices you can make. One choice is, I'm not going to talk to them about it because that's what I'm going to get from them. I don't think that's a great choice, but nonetheless, another thing is to say to yourself, it's affecting him or her, and how he or she expresses it, the effect that what I'm talking about is having is in this way. So I kind of get, it was hard for me, with my brother-in-law, but I got it that he didn't know what to do, and so what he did was he joked, and that was his style. So, I think it's really helpful to have these in mind, that, if someone tends to get logical on you, then you've got to say to yourself, okay, that's their communication style. And then I have a choice about how I receive that. Are they trying to help me in some way? Or, geez, I got to stay away from that kind of thing.
And
So
to your point, it went well when I would acknowledge my dad going, I see you trying to help me. I totally do. It diffused the problem between us. I acknowledged what he was trying to do, and I acknowledged my need to be heard. And I stayed grown up. Shockingly, stayed grown up.
good for you. Good for you. Great. Shirley, please.
Hi, everyone, and Richard. Richard, thank you. The music was fantastic. And I really loved what you said about how it calms you, and it made me, I think it's going to be helpful just to hear that comment about how much the music does for you. Well, a bunch of things to say here. Is this going to be posted next week when today's class gets posted? Your whole presentation? Yes, thank you, Cher. Okay. So I'm a 2, and yes, I have a lot of feelings, but as you were going through the presentation, first of all, I feel totally overwhelmed and frightened by it. But what I did take away was that I feel like I relate much more to the way the 1, the 4, and the 6 react. And I feel I'm a 2. Okay, I do relate to the abandonment. And I was just wondering how do I think into this just on a basic level when I can't imagine I'm the only one who feels overwhelmed by this presentation, but if I am, so be it. How can I relate to being a 2? How can I relate to the fact I feel like I'm all over the map with this? I feel reactive. I feel, I don't see myself as very positive, and the competent, I don't know. I don't know how to think into this as a starting point.
Can I take this, Richard?
You got it.
Okay. So Shirley, you are a positive outlook because you do reframe. This is what the positive outlooks do. There's a pause there, and that's fine. But you reframe things as like the harmonic group is all about how do we react when we don't get our way, right? That's what it's about.
Okay.
And so what happens with the positive outlook group, they will, over time, doesn't necessarily happen immediately, over time, they basically will reframe whatever it is so that it's acceptable so they can move on, right? That's what what is it, 2, 7, and 9. So the 7 will make something funny. The 9 will say, I'll deal with that later. And the 2 basically says, how can I help someone else? Right? So, and what's happening is what you're doing is instead of going to that, you're trying to absorb all this information, and it just takes time. And right now, right? So because you have a strong 1 wing, and the 1 wants to basically have everything happen now. The 3 wants everything to happen now. Right. And so your poor little 2 self is saying, wait, right? But what will happen is once you do absorb the pieces that none of us absorb everything. So once you do absorb that, and I've seen it in you, that positive outlook is absolutely there because you basically massage everything until, okay, now I can move on. And it's exactly what the positive outlook people do. So you are doing that, right?
Okay.
You may not feel like you are, but even in the notes you're taking and all that, so you'll be able to turn this into something where you can help someone else with it, which is absolutely what the positive outlook group does.
Thank you, Cher. That was the perfect answer for me. It was affirming, it was sensitive, it was compassionate.
I love you, Shirley.
Anyway, I just want to say that, yes, and I will massage everything to death.
Yes. Exactly. And here's what's interesting, because of course, and I don't mind, Richard, you kept saying, don't worry about it if it's I am like reactive. I know that. And I'm pissed and I want you to be pissed with me. And why aren't you pissed with me? It's like, I'm not so much like that anymore, but I completely get it. Right. So Yeah, absolutely. So Shirley, thank you for sharing on that, because I do think, and this is, by the way, a lot of information. I mean, it really is a lot of information, which is so, I'm so happy that we recorded it, because it is something that you can go back and take a look at. And I love the fact that you brought in all the videos. I think that's wonderful. And yeah, so, because it really added a lot. It does add a lot to it. So anyway, so Richard, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you. And Cher, thank you so much. And if I may just add a couple of things, or one thing, which is the arrows. And, don't forget about your wings, which surely you mentioned, because you've got a wing that goes to 3 and a wing that goes to 1. But
Right.
also you have an arrow that goes to 4, and you have one that goes to 8 as well. So, those are things to keep in mind. I find an awful lot of times, even though I'm convinced I'm type 1, I find an awful lot of times that I have a lot of 4-ishness in me. And I know that I use that arrow a lot. Okay,
Okay,
that's
thank you
it.
so much.
Yeah. So Jim, you're up.
Thank you, Richard. Such an amazing presentation, truly. Where to begin? Okay, so with certain, excuse me a second, with certain changes going on in my life, I've not been able to get along to the workshops, the reading rooms, the Enneagram book, which is a loss for me. But given what Cher reminds each of us when she hosts the workshop on the Enneagram book, you only get through a paragraph at a time. I don't have much pages to cover to catch up. And I've got the book with me, so at some point I will turn back to it. When the presentation, we were going through the presentation, I was feeling triggered, with all of these points that were being made, and because of my own experiences. And then the cuddle scene comes along, and I feel fine. I mean, this side of various sides of my character, I sat the test, the big test through the Enneagram. Definitely, I've confirmed 4, and it's on a point system. And so 1 point behind that, I think, was a 5, and an equal point was maybe a 2. So a couple of points behind the type 4 was maybe a 7 or a 3. So I'm kind of all muddled up a little bit. I haven't yet unpuzzled the puzzle, which is myself, I guess. Watching the presentation, hearing the music, it was brilliant. And always get what you want. What a great tune. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate that very much.
So can I respond to this just a little bit? Thank you, Jim, for appreciating the fact that we cover a paragraph at a time instead of pages. So, but I want to say too, the fact, even when you say you felt triggered, even Michael Mailer, right? When he first when he was learning about the 4, he said he was just horribly embarrassed, just like, seriously, because it just doesn't feel comfortable. It's like, you want to be seen but not seen, and then suddenly you're seen. It's like, that's not the parts that I want to be seen, right? And it's so true of the 4. I think it absolutely is. And with the 4 with a 5 wing, you have the 3 and the 5 wing, obviously, but 1 is strong and 1 is weak. And when you have that 5 wing, that means you're comfortable alone. You can spend time alone. So yeah, I think what you said. And once again, as we grow, we incorporate more of the other types in us. And so, I don't look like well, I suppose I do, because I talk about it all the time, but I don't, like, in my day-to-day life, I don't look as 8-ish as I used to look when I was, 100% in my false self. When I thought I was my personality, I was like in people's face all the time, and right. So, and that's just called growth. It's how we grow. And it's, and it's wonderful. I have to say, my favorite part about Surrender School, being part of the Supercharge, is the fact that I get to see the growth in people. I'm a teacher by nature, so it just delights me when I see that. It's like I can see the lights going on, I see the changes, and I can see the changes in you almost faster than you can see the changes in you, right? And it's wonderful. I'm so blessed by that. All right, so thank you for letting me share on that. And Richard, back to you to call on whom.
Thank you. I guess, Michelle, it's your turn.
Oh, thank you. Gosh, now where do I even start? Oh, so the presentation, I loved it. It was very educational. Like, it felt like I got a nice lesson here. Just at the end, I heard kind of Cher to say that basically the harmonic groups is basically how we react when things don't go our way. But this was really helpful for me because what I was doing is like I kind of I was thinking about my husband because my husband is a 7, and then as I was listening, I was kind of jotting down the things that, whatever that were kind of relevant to me, stuff, like with my husband and whatever. And yeah, so as a 7, that positive outlook is sometimes causing problems these days because I guess it's just like, okay, so I even color coded it. I was like really nerding out. So I was like, okay, so basically this is the motives, or this is what he might say, and this is what I might say. So it's like, I'm looking at like the anatomy of our conversations, right? And kind of like where I feel gaslit because he's like, can't we just move on? Or let's go have fun. And so like what I think is helpful for me in this idea of like a communication, it's like I am realizing, I look to the outside to get my okayness, right? And I got to stop doing that, right? That's what I'm working on here. But it's like I also have this realization, it's like I just can't put all of that on somebody. Like I can't put all of what I need on somebody else, right? Especially knowing that this person is not going to meet those needs, like certain needs, right? And so it's like comes back to this is like me learning how to be a better version of me, right? I do want to find somebody who gets me. I need to be seen and heard. I want support, but not too much, right? So yeah, it's like it puts into words like, so how can we two people do life together, right? And one other thing, I just want to say this other thing, it's like my mother, I suspect, is a 2. And I wonder if you have any insight on this part, but she's I never would have said positive outlook because she's like, her name is Nancy. And I kind of sometimes will say she's a negative Nancy, But what I realized maybe is part of her 2-ness is that it's like she just wants everything to be fine, right? So it's like this cleaning up to make it okay so we can just move on, right? Like that's like and what she does is she'll stay away from pain, do that idea of focusing on activities. It's like it's an avoidance thing for her. I don't need to analyze her stuff, but it's just like it helps me to kind of understand like that's probably why as a child, again, she wasn't there in the way that I needed her because I am me and she is her. You know what I mean? And I don't know where I'm going with all of this, but I think it just helps me to understand. It's like, again, everybody has their own things. We're all doing the best we can. Like it's better to give grace and compassion to everybody for whatever they're going through. And thank you. I'll leave it there. Pass.
Thanks for recovering with us.